Get ready.
This is the voice of Wayne America.
Lighten up, Francis.
With your host,
Hi-ho, Kermit the Frog here.
Mike Carnes.
How do you measure yourself with other golfers?
My height.
Only at WayneAmerica.com.
The supernova's gonna kill us all.
Okay, this guy is the real zero, that's true. Let's just think back when you guys were freshmen, huh?
.com.
Hello and welcome to the Voice of Wayne America podcast, an exclusive here on WayneAmerica.com. I'm Mike Carnes, your host for the big show here every week where we talk about something going on here and we talk about something here in the community of Wayne. And we got a bunch here this week to talk about. We want to first mention our sponsor, Providence Medical Center. They're the sponsor of the podcast here every week, and we thank them for their support of the podcast. Now, as you may or may not know, Wayne High School has a pretty darn good speech team. In fact, they have a number of entries being this week at the Nebraska State High School Speech Championships and with us on the big show this week is their coach, Dwaine Spieker, along with three seniors who will be competing later this week, including Jack Osnes, Megan Kaiser, and Nate Burrows. And Coach, I'll start with you. I'm great. Good.
Hello,
good.
Waiter.
Yes, wanted to talk about a very good showing at the district meet.
Represented Blue very, very well.
And come away with the district runner-up trophy. No small feat. You got to have a lot of people perform well on that day. And I know you got 5 entries in the state, but I think who competed scored for you in that.
Yes,
meet, so.
the way the scoring goes for a district contest is different than a typical meet in that everybody who speaks helps score points, and they just figured I won't burden your listeners with the exact details, but they make it so that everyone who participates in one way or another for Wayne High does help score points for the team. So once again, like our conference championship a couple weeks ago, this was definitely a team victory.
And 5 of the kids were able to finish in the top 3 at districts, which qualifies them for state, or 5 of the entries, I should say. There's more than five kids involved, but
Sunny, all expense paid trip to Loperland, right? UNK. Shout out to all the Loper Nation out there.
You
right?
cannot do any better in Nebraska than Kearney, can you? I mean, right in the center of the
state.
state.
I just offended virtually all of your listeners, one
well,
way or another.
Go Wildcats.
But getting a chance to go out to Kearney is a really great experience for those kids, and a chance to compete with everybody from all over the state.
Yes, we swoop in like a bunch of cranes right down to central Nebraska. But it is a great honor, all joking aside. I tell my students when they qualify for this, I never qualified as a student for state in anything, not even close. So making it to state even one time is a magnificent accomplishment for our seniors, who are all 3-time qualifiers, and our freshmen, who are now not even done with their freshman year, and they are going to be returning state qualifiers for us for the rest of their career. Congratulations, guys.
Yeah, and we do have the freshmen sitting here. They're kind of sitting as silent viewers, I guess, of this podcast here.
We might like Mount Rushmore.
And this is quite an achievement too, because you don't generally get freshmen to stay silent for this long.
No,
this is.
I thought you were going to say that it's difficult to get a freshman to the state tournament, but it is difficult to get a freshman to stay this quiet for this long.
Yeah, well, it is difficult to get a freshman to a state tournament, but for them not to say anything during the course of an interview is quite an achievement. We'll try to break the ice on that for them for this one. But the 5 entries that are going to the state speech tournament for Wayne are Megan Kaiser, who will be going in humorous prose. She was a district champion. And then Jack Osnes, also a district champion. He was in serious prose. Nate Burrows was a district runner-up in entertainment speaking. And then the freshman will be represented twice. Chris Werdeman going in by himself in extemporaneous speaking. And we may have him explain that, because that's kind of an interesting competition to be involved in. And then the oral interpretation of drama team, which includes Chris Werdeman and also Dylan Anderson, Isaac Davis, Walker Hookstein, and Liam Spieker were the district runner-up. I should mention Christopher was a district champion as well. So, I mean, being a district champion is great, but doing it as a freshman is also pretty darn impressive too.
Outstanding. Great day.
So now, I guess talk a little bit about each of these speeches and what the objective is of each speech.
I'll just move right down the line here and start with Jack Osnes. In serious prose, his goal is to tell a story that has you emote, basically to get you to think, to cry, to feel about a more serious work. In Megan's event, humorous prose, obviously the goal is to laugh. I tell her, just like I tell Nate Burrows, the goal is like the name of the old Weird Al Yankovic album, Dare to be stupid.
Dare to be stupid,
Right?
yeah,
Dare to
yeah.
be stupid. And what they're doing in a humorous way is what Jack is doing in a, Jack's speech is designed to do in a serious way. And they split the events up years ago because, of course, people would rather laugh than cry. But they're two very different kinds of art, okay? And then, of course, you have Christopher in Extemporaneous, who is, he researches on politics, and he goes to a speech meet without a speech. And then he has 60 minutes to prepare a speech on which to speak. The rest of the guys here in OID, they are one of the two group events, and their goal is to put on a play without actually acting. And I don't, after all these years, still know the difference between interpretation and acting, but I just know it when I see it. And they have a fun play, and what these freshmen have done is they bring incredible energy to their practices and thus to their performances. And they are here because of work ethic and energy, in addition to some open-mindedness on their part to work with a lot of different coaches.
Yeah. Now, when the kid gives a speech, how long do they have to present their speech?
It depends on the event. Nate has 8 minutes in entertainment. Megan and Jack have 10 minutes in humorous and serious prose. Christopher actually works with a time range, 5 to 7 minutes. And then, of course, the boys in the OID can go up to 15 minutes. Okay, and they can go up to 30 seconds over. Christopher can go up to 30 seconds under without being penalized.
And that was my next question, is that if they don't reach that time limit, or if they go over that time limit, do they get penalized?
They get lowered one rank. So if they go over time, it's not the end of the world, although as some of the people sitting here will tell you, that if you do accidentally go over time, I'm looking across the microphone at someone here, it's not the end of the world, but your coach may make you think that it is, depending on his mood.
And then they go through 2 rounds then, right?
Usually at a typical meet, they have 2 rounds. They combine the rank and the score of the two performances, and then usually the top 6, maybe 7 or 8, go to finals, and those are the medalists.
Okay, and then when they do 2 rounds, is it 2 different judges that?
Yeah, two different judges.
Okay, so they get 2 chances to impress their audience then.
And a lot of times we see very, very similar scores regardless of the judges, and then some days it's like bowling where you get the 1 and the 9 pin or something like that, and you get the 1 and the 6 in speech that just drives you up the wall. It makes you very frustrated.
Yeah, so it's it's part their performance, but it's also part that judge and their state of mind and what their vision of funny or serious or
and
whatever
everybody says that speech judging is very subjective, but I like to paraphrase Animal Farm, the George Orwell novel. All judges are subjective. Some judges are more subjective than others. And we hope those ones that are more subjective are staying at home or staying on the JV level, and we'll get the ones who are more objective on varsity. If you put 5 head coaches down in a room with the same competitor, they're going to be remarkably similar in what they're looking for, regardless of the event.
Yeah. So and then the amount of work that these guys do in preparing the speech.
It's an incredible amount of work.
What all do they do to prepare these?
Well, it
speeches?
usually starts back not long after Halloween. We usually try to get the team organized and get talking about what events. About that time is when people start selecting their scripts. If they're doing humorous or serious, they begin writing. If they're doing entertainment, they begin their researching. Usually after midterm elections, as next season will be for someone like Christopher. And then they just start talking ideas, cutting, memorizing, and ideally, it rarely happens this way, but ideally I like to have the events done by Christmas. And then our first meets, they're all laughing. The veterans are laughing. And then their first meet is usually the first Saturday after Christmas vacation.
Okay. And then do they write their own speeches then, or do they take
it
other
depends.
speeches? And
Nate has written his own speech. Christopher writes his own speeches, but the OID, Megan and Jack, they have selected scripts. And it's really ultimately the same amount of work to either write your own or present one that you've selected. Ultimately, you will put in the same amount of practice, and then we end up going through it word by word, sentence by sentence, phrase by phrase to make sure that everything is said correctly.
And the prepared scripts, do they get to alter them at all? Can they kind of
They
change them
cut
up a little
them.
bit?
Yeah, you have to consider authorial intention. That's something that's a buzzword these days in Nebraska state speech or state high school speech. But you can have a little fun with it, and then of course you're bringing your own interpretation within that. So yeah, you have to like Jack. How long's the novel that you're cutting? 1,200 pages. Yeah, he cut a 1,200-page novel down to a 10-minute script. So he had to sacrifice a few things and combine a few things, but ultimately he is very true to the author's intention.
All right. And then they practice generally about, what, is it kind of like a sports practice, 2 hours a day?
Yeah, it is. It's
after
closer
school?
to a sport than a lot of people realize. You have to have a lot of physical stamina. You got to have lung capacity. You got to pay attention to your breathing and your stance, and a lot of the things you hear the coaches talk about up in the gym, we talk about down here in room 106.
That doesn't seem like that would be. I guess when you think about speech, you don't think about the athletic end of it or the physical end of it. But like you said, there's you have to take a lot of that into consideration
Yeah,
too.
guys, are you tired after a 15-minute OID?
Oh, yeah.
All but one were shaking their heads. Yeah. So
Christopher doesn't have time to think about being tired because he has to run off and do an extemp speech usually right after.
right.
So,
He's kind of the.
And he goes home and collapses afterwards. Yes, yeah, okay. But it's hard work. It's a lot more. It's a lot closer to a sport than a lot of people realize.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's kind of neat because I think a lot of people, one of the biggest fears that people have is the fear of speaking in a public setting.
Yes.
And this is I can't think of a better way for a group of young people to be able to beat that fear, before they get to their adult years and then have to go out and whether it's at work or at church or something like that,
Right.
where they have to speak in front of a group of a bunch of people. And
That's why those group events are very popular, especially with freshmen and sophomores, because they can get up there, but they're not alone, and that helps. That helps a lot.
Yeah. We're talking with the Wayne High speech team here on the Voice of Wayne America podcast this week, and they're getting ready for their state meet coming up this week in Kearney. Wanted to take a moment to talk about Providence Medical Center in Wayne. They're proud to announce the addition of a new surgical procedure that they now offer at the hospital called shoulder arthroscopy. This surgical procedure is for those who have rotator cuff injuries, where the surgeon inserts a tiny camera and the necessary instruments through small incisions in the shoulder, rather than doing an open procedure with a large incision. Dr. Joseph Caro is a specialist in orthopedic surgery for Providence Medical Center. He is a team physician for Wayne State Athletics and also offers his expertise at multiple high schools here in the area. For more information, check out Providence Medical Center's website at www.providencemedical.com. That's Providence Medical Center, extraordinary care rooted in compassion. Voice of Wayne America podcast this week features the Wayne High speech team, where we have 5 entries competing in the Class B division of the state speech tournament that will be going on in Kearney on Thursday and Friday. The Class B division will be competing on Thursday, and they'll get started bright and early at 8 a.m. And we've got some of the speech team with us here. We've got the 3 seniors here talking to us today, including Jack Osnes, Megan Kaiser, and Nate Burrows. And you guys are veterans of the speech battles, I guess, over the years. I think you've all been to state before. Is that right?
Yeah.
So you're the seasoned veterans. So what's it like to go to the state speech tournament and compete in that kind of arena? I can't imagine that the speech team would be speechless for a question like that.
No, it's a lot of fun.
It's nerve-wracking. Like, my first year going, I did it in a single event, and that was scary because it's like you're all by yourself. And then if you're a group event, it's different because you have other people to fall back on if you make a big mistake. And then going again alone, it's like, ooh, if I mess up, it's all on me. It's not on anyone else.
Mm-hmm. That's gotta be scary on the one hand, but it's also gotta be, I think,
It's better.
good for you because you know that this is all on you. This is your gig, win or lose.
Mm-hmm.
It's thrilling.
Nate. Talk about putting your speech together. You have an entertainment speech. What's the topic of your speech, and how did you put this all together?
The topic was football. That's what I originally set out to do way back. But after the Wakefield meet, which would have been maybe 4 to 5 weeks ago, I came in 6th in finals, and I wasn't very happy about it. So I decided to switch up my topic so that the judges could relate to it a little bit better. And so that's why I switched it to anger, which actually that was what I originally set out to do, but then I switched it to football after having a nasty bit of writer's block.
And writer's block can be nasty. I've been there.
It's not often that someone takes an entire speech that they're doing at the point about Valentine's Day, which is the second half of the speech season, and just chucks it entirely and starts completely over. But Nate had the courage to do that this year.
But I remember when we had the speech open here back in early February, and I remember listening to your football speech. It was actually football interlaced with the presidential election.
Yeah.
Which I thought was hilarious. So I was not aware that you had changed your speech since then. So
it was kind of funny listening to other competitors come up to me who've seen the football speech afterwards saying, "You changed your topic?" I said, "Yep."
Yeah. So what's the focus of anger in a humorous speech?
Give them your thesis.
The thesis is about we will pout about appropriate times to get angry, then scowl about my personal experiences with anger, which is where I basically just drag myself through the mud about my ridiculous experiences with anger. And then finally it's growling about coping with being angry, and I use an acronym to help people, and a mascot.
Okay. Megan, you're in the humorous prose, which is, I guess, could kind of be a offshoot of what Nate is doing. But what is your topic, and how did you come up with that idea?
I saw my script down sophomore year when I made it for humorous prose, and they did it completely different than I did. I kind of have a more modern take on it, and it's kind of about lesbians eating quiche, and they find out about like who they truly are, and they come out to each other, I guess, in a way. And I guess it's kind of funny, and people enjoy it. I have a smoker's voice that I throw in there, and that's what people usually like. Uh-huh. But like through the scripts, they find out who they really are to each other.
Yeah, give us a smoker's voice real quick.
Oh. I gotta remember a line.
Just say anything in a smoker's voice.
Children.
Most people doing that voice will just injure it.
Yeah.
After doing that, but Megan can do it without hurting herself. So we throw in the smoker's voice whenever we can.
And there was no training prior to that, right?
Sophomore year, I picked it up, and then I just never wanted to let it go. So.
And he doesn't mean real smoke.
No.
No,
That's
no, I don't smoke. No.
I didn't know if that was part of the practice.
No, it's not part of the practice.
Outside picking up a half a pack a day habit.
One thing we've had to do with that character is to have her flick a cigarette, and we all know how people hold cigarettes, but to flick it without actually having a cigarette there to do it is tough to do, because you don't bring those into a school. So.
Yeah, no, you don't get a lot of
voice, but not the real.
Generally, don't get a lot of practice with that. No, more normally, but and Jack, you're a serious prose competitor, and what is your topic, and how did you prepare for this one?
Well, my topic, I'm not supposed to say the name, but it's about a clown in a certain novel who eats children.
Okay.
It's a real lighthearted story. And that's it.
So that's it, huh? So how did you I guess put it all together then? What?
Well, it was recently a movie, but I actually took the movie script, and then I cut down that movie script, and it took a long, long time, and I actually didn't have that cut till the night before the first meet, or the second meet. I don't know. It's fine. No, and then I took excerpts from the book.
Okay, and put it all together and came up with something. That's an interesting take on an interesting creative way of putting a speech together. That's got, and it had to be a lot of work to.
What makes
get
the
that
serious
done.
prose different, and why it's one reason it's doing well, in addition to, of course, his quality performance, is that it's a very different kind of script. Usually, serious prose is designed to the topics du jour are abuse and sexual domestic violence, those kinds of things. His is just a genuine horror script that actually is very triumphant, and that's why his script stands out. And I always look for that unique take on the event, and sometimes that works in our into our advantage, and sometimes it doesn't. But it did to his advantage. It did work to his advantage this year.
Yeah. Well, obviously it worked out very well if you guys were able to get him to state. So that's great. Great effort there. So we're talking with members of the Wayne High speech team here. We've had the seniors on here. I'm going to throw Christopher Werdeman into this because he's a district champion as a freshman, and the reason I'm doing this is because his topic is extemporaneous. So he had no idea that this was coming. So I figured this would be a great opportunity for him to show what kind of an extemporaneous speaker he might be. So Chris, tell me about what you have to do to put a speech together for the extemporaneous division.
Okay, so we have this offline database called PrEP, and we save files there dealing with political topics from various websites. Then also it auto-files for us, so we have about 90,000 articles, I think, on there. And then when I go to a speech bee, I have no clue what I'm going to write. So when they call my name up, or my code, I go and draw out of a folder 3 topics, all political, and some range from the growing dictatorship in Kenya to why Trump is bad. So easy topics to very hard topics that no one knows anything about. And then sometimes those really hard topics are the only ones that you can choose because you don't know anything about. And you always want to avoid stuff like gun laws or abortion because sometimes judges can either like those or really hate your topics, so you never want to be iffy with those. Then after you draw it, and then you pick your topic, usually you have 60 minutes to prepare a speech unless you're at a Norfolk speech meet where they give you 30 minutes, which is really fun. And then you have to use real sources, and you always have to use those dates of the sources to, I don't know, it's like a persuasive speech, so yes or no, and then you have to use those sources to help your point. And one thing that Mr. Speaker said before that sets Wayne extempors apart from everyone else is everyone else writes their speech word for word on a note card and literally read it like a script. Well, Wayne's speech extempors, we write bullet points, and then we speak from there so we can actually have a conversation with someone else instead of giving them a speech. Excellent. That's a great idea. Now, would you choose a topic? Do you choose them at random, or is there like you got 4 topics here, choose 2 or choose 3 or what? No, yeah, it's kind of random because we draw out there like pieces of paper. We draw the three topics and we choose one of those.
And then you get 60 minutes to come up with a speech based off of that topic, and using the information that you have.
Yeah, and what I've learned is that if you know nothing about the topic, like one time I had to speak on Iran's growing cyber army, the judges won't know anything about that topic. So if you don't go full in depth with those, the judges won't dock you with that. Okay, and then you have to spend 5 to 7 minutes. Do you try to make a point for or against one side or? Yes, most of the time it's a yes or no question. So when you do that, then you get 3 reasons why. But if it's like, what should they do, then you give 3 steps on what they should do. So most of the time it's a persuasive speech. Okay. That's got to be kind of, I guess, exciting and terrifying at the same time. Because like Coach said earlier, everybody else here has a prepared speech all ready to go. They got it, chapter and verse in their head, and you're going in there with a completely blank slate. Actually, I got kind of lucky at districts. Is it okay if I see?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I've actually...
Repeat topics are very normal.
All right. I actually had a districts, my one that in my second round I already had before. It's just a little different phrasing than my finals topic. I had at conference, but I did awful. I didn't do as well as I wanted to at conference, so I was a little nervous going in because my speech at conference was maybe 5 minutes, and I gave a 6:30 speech at district finals. So it differs on what point you take in your points of your thesis points or whatever. Yeah. That's to be, I think, to me, is the most exciting one of the group of events, because literally you're going in there with a blank slate and have no idea what's going to come out of your mouth in that 5 to 7 minutes. Yeah, that's got to be really exciting. So, Coach, you've had a chance to see these kids compete, and you know what they're capable of. What do you think are their chances of going down to state and doing well at state?
As a coach, I have one goal, and that is to see all 5 of these events in finals. That's, if I said anything less, I'd be selling them short. I think all 5 of these events can come home as state medalists, or I'd just stay home and not go back to my alma mater at Kearney, great as it is. Right? No, I mean that in all seriousness, especially these seniors. I think they've all been there before, and they know the drill. Jack is a returning state finalist, and he knows what it takes to get there. in 2 events actually when he was a sophomore in OID and duet. So he already has 2 state medals. It's happened before, and therefore it can happen, again. And I believe it will happen later in this week. I believe in all of them. So.
Well, I had a
And
chance.
I'm not just saying that either because I'm on a podcast. I believe it can happen.
Well, I've had a chance to see some of their speeches during the speech open that you had here, and I think you got a great bunch of kids here, and obviously they've performed very well
Very
to get to this point. So hopefully we can follow through for one more time and bring home some medals.
Super.
I think that'd be awesome.
That'd be outstanding.
Now, just to tell everybody, the speech tournament starts Thursday at 8 a.m. The extemporaneous draw will happen at 8 a.m. It's actually the first event of the day here. So Chris will be up bright-tailed, bushy-eyed right away. And then at 8:30, the persuasive, humorous, serious poetry, and informative and entertainment speeches all take place, the first round of those. And then extemporaneous follows at 9, then OID and duet at 9:30. And then they have a second round that will start at 11:30, and then the awards, the finals will be at 3 o'clock, and then the awards will be at 5. So a full day of activities down there, and be a great chance if you get a chance to go down to Kearney Thursday to see these kids compete. Do so because I'm sure they would enjoy having some Wayne people in there supporting them. And
It would be great, and wear comfortable shoes. I usually walk between 20 and 25,000 steps on state speech day.
yeah,
It's my exercise for March.
it's all over campus there, right?
It is all
Kearney
over
High School.
campus, yeah.
Yeah.
UNK.
It's at UNK. Okay.
It's at UNK, yeah.
All right. So the Wayne High speech team in the state tournament gets going on Thursday. Like I said, bright-tailed and bushy-eyed at 8 a.m. and we'll go throughout the days there. So, guys, good luck to all of you. I hope that
Thank you,
you all
Mr.
are wearing medals when you come back on Thursday night. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You bet. So we've been talking to the Wayne High speech team here on this week's edition of the Voice of Wayne America podcast. I want to thank Coach Dwaine Spieker and the Wayne High speech team for their time here, and also thank Providence Medical Center as our sponsor here for Voice of Wayne America. We'll do another edition of Voice of Wayne America next week right here on WayneAmerica.com. Until then, have a good week, and we will see you later.